It's been a bad week for Ryan Lochte. All of Lochte's active sponsors have ended their partnerships with the swimmer after it was revealed he fabricated a story about being robbed during the Rio Olympics. Speedo, Ralph Lauren, and Japanese mattress maker Airweave all announced Monday they would be parting ways with the swimmer. Genital hair removal, for which Lochte had shot multiple advertisements, also dropped the 12-time Olympic medalist. With me now is Dana Jacobson, CBS News correspondent, and Daniel Roberts, a finance reporter, business, sports writer for Yahoo. Good to have you both.
Hey.
All right, so let's talk about this. This is kind of a big deal. Were you expecting these companies to come out so quickly?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
I think that when you sort of bring disgrace to the country, which purportedly is what he's done here, depending on your opinion, then brands have to act quickly. I mean, the most interesting part to me was if you looked at what happened with Maria Sharapova. You remember a few months ago, she tested positive for a banned substance. Tennis came out and banned her, but Nike stood by her. Initially, they said, we're suspending her temporarily. Now they come back. No way they stay around someone like Lochte after something like this happens. And the difference is, you know, even drug use potentially is not quite as bad as lying about a story that sort of guilts a foreign country. And it played so poorly into this false narrative that I think brands said, you know, that he's toxic at this point.
So that's an interesting point, Dana. I mean, you point out Sharapova. There have been others in the past. Tiger Woods, for example, famously, right? Even Kobe Bryant, caught in lies, or at least in behavior that is unbecoming of an athlete representing some of those brands, and yet this is like within a week that these brands are leaving.
Yeah, and even the one that's probably the most closely related. Look at Michael Phelps. Remember Michael Phelps, I think we talked about this last week, gets caught with the bong, and he loses Kellogg's as a sponsor, but then fast forward in his career. When he had the DUI, those sponsors that had stuck by him, like Speedo, stayed with him. There were ones, Omega was another one, I believe, that they just believed in his winning and sort of the character buildup that he'd had before that he had built enough collateral with them that they didn't leave. I think there are a couple things with Ryan Lochte. End of his career at 32. I know he says
he made it easy for him.
Right. He says he wants to swim in Tokyo, but there's no hopes that Ryan Lochte is going to go out and suddenly have a resurgence if he's allowed to swim and compete even right away, right now. So I think that just made it for them easy, as you say.
It's interesting to me. He didn't medal at this Olympics except in a team medal. Does that, you guys cover sports, does that have anything to do? We love winners.
Yes, we do. If this were Michael Phelps, and I'm not saying Michael Phelps would do this, so don't tell me that I'm putting it on him.
Yeah, people on Twitter, you're not saying that.
Yes, it would be very, very different. He wasn't winning right now. If this was him in London, different story.
Absolutely.
Possibly.
I think if you look at Ray Rice, you know, sponsors were, it was easy for them to walk away right away because he was sort of not a star anymore anyway. It wasn't like, you know, Tom Brady in the peak of his career. It wasn't like Phelps right now, who we know is still doing great at this Olympics. I mean, it was easy because Lochte already hadn't won an individual medal. He's probably at the end of his swimming career. And in addition, this is a guy who we know is probably going to keep making mistakes like this. He's said things in public before. He's had mess ups. You know, he had a reality show where he said borderline offensive things. I mean, this guy has a history of kind of bungling things in public.
Which was why he had that reality show.
Exactly right. Put that on television. Why not? Many people are expecting USA Swimming to suspend him, Dana. Do you think that they will?
Yeah, I would be surprised if they didn't. I mean, Michael Phelps, again, another example, he had a 3-month ban. I don't know what this brings. He brought not just shame to himself and sort of the poor public image, this was shame to all of USA Swimming. This was on the grandest stage. This is the one time every 4 years we all pay attention to swimming. And Ryan Lochte didn't just put a black mark on swimming. It was the entire U.S. Olympic team. We talked more about him than about people winning medals during that time.
Well, and if you look at today, the way that each sponsor, one by one, fell like a domino, it's sort of like once that first one goes, once Speedo finally dropped him, all the others, including Airweave, the mattress company, at first they said, we're actually sticking by him and we'll just let the sponsorship end when it's going to end naturally. Then finally, 2 hours after that statement, they said, okay, we've dropped him. And I think the swim team might do the exact same thing. If all the brands are jumping ship, then there's really no reason to stick around.
Yeah, and he says he was out today. I believe may have been TMZ that got him at the airport or somewhere in LA, and he said, I'm going to keep swimming no matter what happens. And you'd expect that from him. At this point, he wants to keep swimming. I don't think it will be a lifetime ban that we see from them. But certainly, if he wants to actually be competitive again, it's going to be much more difficult.
It's going to be tough. Could we see some fallout involving any of the other swimmers?
It's interesting. I mean,
that's because, I mean, you know, they're a little younger. They still have a chance to go to Tokyo and do really well.
Yeah, I think what helps is actually the idea that none of these guys was a well-known household name.
They never
And that
heard of
actually
them, at
benefits
least,
them.
right.
Because 4 years from now, when people talk about Ryan Lochte, unfortunately, I don't think this is an exaggeration, people will think of this scandal right away.
Yeah.
But when you mention Gunnar Bentz, Jimmy Fegan, I don't think anyone's going to remember this. And that helps them.
They still have time to write their stories in the pool and then let that carry over. And I think it's going to be interesting to watch Ryan Lochte now. 12 Olympic medals. That's second only to Michael Phelps.
Right.
And
He
yet
is one of the
now-
greatest swimmers of all time.
Exactly. And now you look at him and you wonder, will this be what we always remember? Yeah, Lochte was great in the pool, but remember that time he destroyed the whole Olympics for the rest of the U.S. team?
Oh, well, it absolutely. I mean, I've seen people say that's hyperbole. I don't think so.
And that will be the story of this Olympics, too, right? I mean, there were certainly some amazing performances. To me, that's sort of what the bummer is, that this was a great Olympics for Simone Biles, Simone Manuel, others, Katie Ledecky. And this is what people, when you say Rio Olympics, first thing you're going to say is
Ryan Lochte.
Ryan Lochte.
I mean, a good example is Manti Te'o. I mean, very different stature, but that's a guy who now is having a very solid NFL career.
Yeah.
But when I say Manti Te'o, people think of the fake girlfriend.
That's right.
The
That's
thing
all
that
I think
started
of.
catfish as a trend.
Yeah.
And that's what's going to happen with Lochte, I think.
All right, Dana Jacobson and Daniel Roberts, thanks so much for stopping by.
Thanks.